Welcome to Torch Coffee Company's part 3 of our Espresso Coffee series. We've looked in part 1 at the machine and becoming familiar with our equipment, in part 2 at how to pull a great shot of espresso, and now in part 3 what we're going to look at is how to steam milk properly. And steaming milk properly is incredibly important for two reasons. Number one, when milk is steamed properly, it mixes with the espresso well, and you have a more pleasant tasting beverage. Number two, it is impossible to pour latte art without properly steamed milk. To steam milk properly, we need to start out with good cold milk, refrigerated, a proper size milk pitcher, and it's important that the milk is cold because milk steams differently when it's cold and when it's warm. When it's cold, it makes very nice fine micro bubbles, which is what we're looking for, rather than big fluffy foam, which we're not looking for. So I got my cold milk. If you're using a proper size milk pitcher, your milk should be just below the spout inside of your pitcher, just below where the spout starts as it is now. So we purge our steam wand, we adjust it, we want it just off center in our milk pitcher and slightly tilted and slightly off center. This is what creates the whirlpool. I'm going to put the tip under the milk, and then I'm going to insert air only when the milk is cold. Once the milk is above the temperature of my hand, or about 35, 36 degrees Celsius, I'm going to put the wand deeper into the milk to incorporate the foam that I've made into the milk. That's incorporating air. Raise it up slightly, nice whirlpool, incorporate it in, and we're done. But now I have these nice big bubbles, and I don't want those. So I'm going to thump it, get rid of the big bubbles, and swirl to incorporate. Thump, swirl, and now I have perfectly textured foam. So now we have perfectly textured milk, we have a perfect shot of espresso, and we want to incorporate these two. So there's a few things that we need to work on when we're incorporating this milk. One, we're not going to try to pour any latte art this time. We're just going to try to pour the milk. And we're going to notice how when we pour up high, we don't have any milk showing. But when we pour closer, you can see what you're pouring. Let's look at some common problems with steaming milk. One of the common problems we can have is that we just incorporate way too much air. And so let's look what that looks like. One of the ways we know we've incorporated too much air is that our milk pitcher is just full. Rather than being about 2/3 full at the level it should be, it's completely full. The other thing you can see is this milk is foam, really firm. When we swirl it, it kind of mounds up in the center. If you take a spoon and put it up in a mound, it stays up in a mound. This is just really fluffy foam. It's going to be impossible to pour latte art. This is a common problem. We've looked at what happens when we have the right amount of air incorporated. We looked at what it looks like when we have too much air incorporated. Now let's look at what happens when we don't have enough air incorporated. We basically get no foam. We have hot milk, but with no foam. And this milk has no foam on top. If you move it with a spoon, you can clearly see there's no foam. This is a clear example of not incorporating enough milk. And you can see the milk pitcher's only about half full. It should be up to here if we incorporated enough foam.